Right. Apologies for those who would like to watch this on Facebook. It's just not working having YouTube and Facebook stream simultaneously for me. And so we'll be on YouTube every day. So I'm just doing a retake because the sound was really bad for most of you. But in this way you can watch it whenever you pick up on it. So let me just make sure that the volume's high enough. Okay, I hope this works. Okay, so the cleanse for 2112. Why are we doing this? Why am I doing this? So the first time I heard about this date, 2112 of this year, was last year in the summer of 2019, when a good friend of mine was already speaking of the chaos that will happen in 2020. She spoke of that there will be huge chaos. Not many people really listened to her, but I was very interested. And she also spoke of 2112 and how important that date will be, and how much of a change will happen on that day. Not necessarily that we can see it physically, but the energy will change. And the reason being is that many of us may have already heard this, that Jupiter and Saturn will be meeting precisely on that day in the sign of Aquarius. Now that happens very, very rarely. And the way we need to envision that is that Jupiter has this explosive energy, this expanding energy, and Saturn has a very structured energy, a very limiting, precise energy. And when these two energies meet, well, we need to be prepared in one way or another. We know that the planets influence us. We know how the moon influences all of us. So we don't really even need to talk about that. So this meeting of Saturn and Jupiter is called Christ consciousness, because we need to raise our consciousness to be able to deal well with this combination of energies. If we're inside that back and forth, it's a struggle. But if we raise ourselves above it, we can really be well. I've got this combination of Jupiter and Saturn in my birth chart, so I know what that feels like. I've been dealing with this for many, many, many years. And the only way to work with this struggle is to realize there's a different view, there's a different perspective. We can imagine that if we're sitting in a circle, there's one person in the middle. Everybody will have a different view of that person. Some people will see the person from the back, some people will see the person from the front. And so we can move around the circle and look at what we're seeing from different points of view. And so I've been very connected to that. I already knew 2112 was going to be important for me. But then information came in a few weeks ago from the elders of Australia. And they talked about a very important ceremony that they most likely will need to do at the exact time on that exact date, to bring in a huge change for us. And several things that they said really resonated with me too. One of the things they said is they were talking about a magic box that they would need to find in the center of Australia at Uluru. And that magic box triggered for me information that has been coming together for me about a meditation that lifts us into the fourth dimension. It's basically a box. It's magical because it lifts us into that dimension. And it contains crystals. Now, the elders say that their magic box comes from the Pleiades and has Pleiadian crystals in it. And it's already here. It's been here for a long time. And it reminds me of the crystals we have in our pineal gland. And the pineal gland is also a magic box that when we open it, oh, the goodness, the things we can see with that third eye of ours. So they also talk about how Earth will divide. It's like a cell division. And that's something that I personally have seen also. It's like it looks like a cell division, and it's basically having two Earths on two different frequencies. And what I see is like a black vortex pulling some part of the Earth into that low frequency, we call it, or keeping it in that low frequency. And it's a suction. And there's another Earth where there's this higher frequency, where there's this light, it feels very comfortable to be there, but we have to work to actually be there. And the way I see that split is in some of these consciousness courses that we've been doing. Sometimes there's a person or part of a person vanishes. We also have photography of that, how you can see through a head, or how in reality, all of a sudden the head or the torso just cannot be seen anymore. And the person themselves will feel absolutely normal. But so this has happened to me actually in my lifetime a lot, that a room full of people cannot hear me, or people bump into me because they actually don't even see me. And that's just one of that signs that we're separating in frequency. And the sign of Aquarius, into which Jupiter and Saturn will be moving and meeting for the first time, the sign of Aquarius is two wavy lines. It's frequencies. It's all about frequencies these days. We're healing with frequencies, and our heart has one frequency, and we're talking about the brain frequency. So it's all, yes, a big shift. Now, the elders, the hardest thing they say that we need to do to prepare for this shift is to monitor our thoughts, to stay in positive thoughts all the time. Now, because that is the hardest thing to do, I want to start with that. So that I have 3 weeks to practice. Now, I've already started practicing once in a while when I started hearing about this. And there was this one day, my first day at having positive thoughts all day, I woke up and I knew this is what I wanted to do. I had a very clear intention. Today is the day. And I was so excited because I managed all day. The whole day was just positive thoughts, positive vibrations. And then in the evening, I wanted to go to bed, and something amazing happened because I'd been clearing myself and vibrating at such a high level. This huge energy came into me, an energy that was much bigger than me. I could have moved mountains. There was no talk of sleeping. I was up until 4 a.m. Now, I wasn't as successful every day, but that was one day that I was enormously successful with staying positive. So what do I do on days when thoughts creep in that are not that high in frequency? And it may be thoughts like simple thoughts like, I don't like the color of that sweater, or that hairstyle, or things like that. So how do I change those? And there are different ways. First of all, I'm prepared. I come prepared with diluting that thought with, for example, a picture. I have a picture of sunshine, butterflies, flowers, grass, me lying in the grass. And so instantly I can dilute, I can delete, I can undo, cancel out that thought that was there. I can fill it with that picture of butterflies and flowers. Or I have words present. I have words like light, beauty, respect, God, goddess. And I have those thoughts ready to fill my brain with those thoughts. Again, diluting, canceling out that other thought with these new frequencies. The other thing I can do is have feelings ready, remembering a feeling of a time when there was so much love. There was a time when I had that a few years ago, that love, it just filled me for days. It wasn't a romantic love. It was just a vibration love. It wasn't about anything. It was just there. The other thing I can do is fill my head with sounds. And I love the sounds of the cosmos, the sound of planets and stars. When I tune into those frequencies, I can hear that ethereal sound, and that drowns out anything that I don't need. Of course, I have to always monitor my thoughts. I always have to be aware of those thoughts that are cruising in my head. And I say my thoughts, but they're not necessarily all my thoughts. Some of the thoughts may be thoughts that are implanted by parents, teachers, institutions, YouTube, thoughts that really lower my frequency. But I want to levitate my consciousness. I want to raise my consciousness so that I'm ready for that ceremony. And that ceremony, it's not something we can sign up for. It's something that we need to do within ourselves. It's an internal ceremony. I do my ceremony, you do your ceremony, everybody does their ceremony. And what we're doing here, what I'm doing here by going live every day, I'm just sharing suggestions, sharing ideas, sharing updates on if I do receive information, and hopefully also sharing that meditation of the magical box. Yes, so it's a commitment, it's a decision, it's about upgrading my level, levitating my consciousness, and it's a responsibility that I, for myself, just want to take. Yes. So one thing I always remember when I think of staying in positive thoughts all the time, I remember Mahatma Gandhi, who was murdered. He was attacked from the back, and he turned around and he blessed his murderer. That's a level that I think it's achievable, especially because I know that right now it is much easier than usual to up our level, to move our consciousness, our spirituality to a higher level. The winds of the universe are there with us, levitating us, helping us. Yeah. So I think that's, yes. One more thing, maybe. When I'm in a room where the consciousness is rather low, and there's talk that I really don't want to take in, one way I can do with that is I visualize my mind as having lots of different rooms or lots of different bubbles. They're, in my mind, they're not cubicles, they're spheres. And I just move from one sphere to another sphere, from one space, from one room to another space. And then that original space is far away. It's muffled sounds that I hear, but it's very distant. Me, myself, I'm in my favorite space where everything is beautiful. There's beautiful colors, there's light, and I feel good. So yes, I'll see you tomorrow, 11 a.m. London time on YouTube. Thank you for being here.